Warm Audio make modern reproductions of classic studio gear at a fraction of the cost. But how do they sound and are they any good? In this video, you can hear for yourself because I'm recording drums with a stack of Warm Audio preamps, microphones and compressors to help you decide what's right for your studio. Hi, I'm Ed Thorne, and I hope you're well. Some of this gear I already own, some of it Warm have kindly sent me for the video, and some of this I have to send back. All thoughts and opinions in the video are my own. The WA-2MPX is a dual-channel tape-era 351 style tube preamp, also available in a single-channel unit. Each input channel hosts 3 vacuum tubes featuring a high-gain switch to engage an additional 20 decibels of tube gain, taking the maximum available gain up to 90 decibels. A tape saturation control engages a discrete circuit in the signal path, adding natural compression, harmonic distortion, and focused tone filtering to emulate the sound of tape machines running at 15 inches per second. The input gain enables you to closely dial in how much you drive the tape circuit, whilst the output level knob enables you to attenuate the output to avoid clipping your AD converters. The MPXs also feature Warm Audio's tone control that lowers the input transformer impedance from 600 ohms down to 150 ohms for some extra analog flavor. The 80Hz high-pass filter and 2 kHz low-pass filter focuses the preamp tone and warmth to the mid-range for extra punch. I can see these preamps being useful for reamping and saturating parallel vocal and mix bus sends. The possible tonal and saturation combinations you can capture with these pre's are remarkable, and I've really enjoyed using these, particularly with the overhead and room microphones. However, for the drums, I think I prefer the WA412s. The WA412 is a 4-channel preamp rack designed to capture tight and punchy audio, ideal for recording drums and guitars. With a high impedance switch, DI input, 20 decibel pad, tone and polarity switches, and 65 decibels of available gain, these are versatile preamps. The output trim also allows you to fine-tune the preamps for saturation. Now, I did find the saturation gets a little honky quite quickly, but you can get some subtly musical saturation before that with careful gain balancing. I record my tom mics through these, they're quite mid-range forward, and I really like how they sit in a mix. By the way, I've placed links to all of these products in the description below. Purchasing any of your home studio gear through these links is a great way to support the channel if you found value in this video, and it helps me continue making videos for you. The WA-84 is a small diaphragm condenser mic with switchable cardioid and omnidirectional capsules. Now, I'm not sure I agree with this frequency chart. I feel there's a low-mid bump in the frequency response between 2 to 400 Hz compared to other pencil mics I've A/B'd with them, and I feel this low end tails off earlier than indicated here, but you can hear these mics in isolation for yourself shortly and let me know in the comments. The WA-CX12 is a brass capsule vacuum tube condenser microphone with a built-in US custom-made transformer supplied with an external power brick housing a 9-polar pattern blending switch. They are sturdy, beautifully made microphones and ship in their own suitcase, which is awesome. So the primary differences between a small diaphragm and a large diaphragm condenser microphone are transient response and low frequency content. The membrane of a small diaphragm microphone is easier to move due to its size, and therefore it is quicker to start and stop vibrating and respond to changes in sound pressure levels hitting the capsule. This results in the SDCs capturing transients earlier and more effectively, providing crisp transient peaks and arguably more detail. Large diaphragms react more slowly because they're bigger, usually resulting in a smoother transient response and more uniform levels of detail across the frequency range. Also, much like how a speaker works, the bigger the cone, the lower the frequency response it can reproduce. A large diaphragm condenser can capture more low frequency content than its small diaphragm counterparts. In the following audio example, the input gains were matched precisely, and the difference in performance is quite apparent. The first thing you'll notice is one sounds louder, but scroll back, watch that segment again, and watch the output meters. The levels are identical. So what's different? The WA-84 is crisp and transparent. You can really hear the stick definition, particularly on the ride cymbal. The CX12s retain a lovely level of detail, but due to the combination of larger diaphragm and the tubes, the CX12s are capturing much more low-frequency content, giving us a thicker, fuller sound and the illusion that they are louder. Can you hear the low-mid bump in the 84s I mentioned earlier? They still capture the low-mid body of the toms, but we're losing the depth and body of the kick drum compared to the CX12s. Now, the CX12s just sound incredible to me. They add so much depth, warmth and thickness to the drums, whilst retaining a clear, detailed top end. I am a huge fan of these microphones. Alright, let's dive into Logic and process some of this audio with a variety of Warm Audio compressors. The WA-2A is an Opto compressor with a slow attack and release, and a ratio that increases the more you drive signal into it. This is great on a snare drum to let the transient punch through and then control the tail and body of the sound, adding punch and sustain to the process, in the process. The WA76 is a FET compressor designed to react in microseconds with adjustable attack-release ratio settings. On the kick drum, we can squash the transient completely or allow some attack through and even out the hits. The quicker the attack, the more aggressive the sound we get, and the quicker or shorter the release, the more or less color from the compressor we get and sustain we can control. Overhead microphones can benefit from slow and gentle compression. Here I'm setting the ratio to 3:1 with a medium attack and release, and lowering the threshold for 3 to 4 decibels of attenuation, most of this being the snare drum in this example. Now, some people like to crush room mics, and the WA-BusComp set to a 10:1 ratio, fast attack and release, and a heavy threshold creates lively, energetic sounding room mics. Try automating your room mics on your kit out of the verse and then up again in the chorus of your song to add dynamic contrast between the sections and really make your track come alive in the loud bits. Smashing these will sound similar to parallel compression with a slight delay, making your drums sound huge. Finally, the WA-BusComp also works well as a stereo bus output compressor to help glue a song together, adding cohesion to your mix. For this, a very slow attack and fast release is a classic setting for subtle musical compression. To hear how these analog compressors sound against digital plugins, check out these videos in the description. If you're still with me in this part of the video, you've done well. That was a lot to get through. Thank you. Making this video has reaffirmed for me that I think Warm Audio make really good preamps for pretty good value for money. I really enjoyed the 2MPXs on overhead and room mics. The option to add subtle tape saturation to the overheads and heavy saturation to the room mics was a lot of fun. Now, this is my first time using Warm Audio microphones, and they don't disappoint. The WA-84s perform strongly, but I feel they sound slightly I think unstable is the best word I can think of. In their own right, they're great mics. You're not missing anything with them, and they deliver, but I'm not convinced I can trust them to be consistent in comparison with another microphone that I have used. The CX12s, on the other hand, I have fallen in love with these. I much prefer how they performed as overheads, and they smashed it as room mics. I think the WA-BusComp is Warm Audio's best compressor. I certainly felt that enhanced the audio the most. I feel the WA-2A and 76, although good in their own right, the WA-2A is wonderful on bass, for example, and the 76 on acoustics. I feel they could tail the low end and the top end of a signal and don't sound as deep or open and spacious as other compressors I have at a similar price point. With that said though, the Warm Audio price to entry for analog gear is very competitive and appealing. The products will serve you well, and if you want to venture into analog gear, this is a great place to start. On that bombshell, it's been emotional. I've been Ed Thorne. Remember, you can download high resolution copies of this audio from my website. And finally, a very big thank you to Ben from Warm Audio for supplying all this gear, and for Jamie, who I share this studio with, for kindly playing all the drum demonstrations for us. Thanks for watching.